Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from that vehicle. That's a $180,000 0 cents Bentley Continental GT, not a rental car lot. The words cut through the pristine showroom like a blade. Amara Washington, 42 and impeccably dressed in designer jeans and cashmere, didn't flinch. She continued examining the vehicle's interior with the practiced eye of someone who understood luxury. Around her, other customers browsed freely. A young white couple debated leather colors. An older man test drove a Porsche. Nobody questioned their presence. Nobody suggested they belonged elsewhere. The security guard's hand moved toward his radio. Amara's calm response carried across the marble floor. I'm aware of the price. Have you ever walked into a place where your money was green, but your skin made it worthless? What would you do if 30 minutes later you had the power to change everything? Brad Morrison adjusted his tie and stepped closer, his 28-year-old confidence radiating from every pore. As lead salesman at Premier Luxury Motors, he'd perfected the art of reading customers. This one didn't fit the profile. Are you sure you're in the right place? His smile never wavered, but his arms crossed defensively. We have a Honda dealership about 3 miles down the street. Much more practical options. Amara's fingers traced the Bentley's steering wheel. I'm looking for something with the W12 engine. Does this model include the adaptive air suspension? Brad blinked. Most customers asked about monthly payments, not technical specifications. Ma'am, that's a very expensive feature package. The base model starts at $180,000. Amara's voice remained steady. Plus the premium package brings it to $215,000. I'm familiar with the pricing structure. The digital clock above the service desk glowed. Saturday premium hours, 2:47 p.m. minus 3:30 p.m. 43 minutes remained in the dealership's busiest sales window. Janet, the receptionist, leaned toward her colleague. Her theatrical whisper carried across the showroom. Should we call someone? Other customers had begun to stare. A young woman with her phone raised discreetly, live streaming. The TikTok interface showed her username, @MayaWitness. Comments began scrolling. This is so messed up. She's being profiled. Here we go again. Mike, the security guard, spoke into his radio. Can you send back up to the showroom? We might have a situation. Amara's purse lay open on the Bentley's hood. A first-class British Airways boarding pass peeked out. Yesterday's date? London to Atlanta. Her Hermes Birkin bag, worth more than most people's cars, sat casually beside it. A custom Patek Philippe watch caught the showroom's LED lighting. Brad noticed none of these details. His focus remained on the problem he needed to solve. Look, I'm not trying to be difficult, he said, his voice dropping to what he imagined was a reasonable tone. But we serve a very specific clientele here. Our customers expect a certain atmosphere. I see. Amara's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Tell the board I'll be slightly delayed for the quarterly review. She typed back. On schedule. Wrapping up the site visit now. A business card protruded from her wallet's edge. The partial text read, Washington Cap, before disappearing back into the leather fold. Brad's manager approached, drawn by the growing crowd. Derek Walsh, general manager for 3 years, had built his reputation on maintaining order. The live stream's growing viewer count made him nervous. Is there a problem here? Derek's question aimed at Amara, not Brad. No problem, Amara replied. I'm shopping for a vehicle. Your salesman seems concerned about my ability to afford the merchandise. Derek's expression hardened. Sir, we need to ask you to leave. You're disrupting our other customers. The pronoun hit like a physical blow. Maya's live stream chat exploded. Did he just call her sir? This is insane. Somebody needs to sue this place. Mara's jaw tightened, the first crack in her composure. For a moment, she was 8 years old again, watching her father humiliated at a department store. The memory burned. His quiet dignity, her mother's tears, the promise she'd made to herself that day. I haven't disrupted anyone, she said carefully. I've asked specific questions about a vehicle's features, Your staff seems unable to provide basic customer service. Derek stepped closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. Ma'am, we reserve the right to refuse service. I suggest you leave before this becomes more difficult. The circle of customers widened. Some looked uncomfortable, others nodded approval. The young couple stopped debating leather colors to watch the drama unfold. Maya's follower count climbed. 847. Viewers, 1,203. 2,891. Someone in the chat wrote, "Wait, isn't that..." But the comment disappeared in the flood of responses. Amara's phone buzzed again. Her assistant. "The Deutsche Bank meeting moved to 4 p.m. Are you available?" She typed back, confirming now. The weight of representation pressed down on her shoulders. Every black woman watching this moment would judge her response. Too aggressive, and she'd be labeled angry. Too passive, and she'd be labeled weak. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Change the system, don't just survive it. The clock showed 2:52 p.m. 38 minutes remained. Brad sensed victory. Some people just don't know their place, he muttered to Janet, loud enough for everyone to hear. The comment sent Maya's viewer count soaring past 5,000. The hashtag #LuxuryWhileBlack began trending in Atlanta. But Amara had made her decision. She reached for her purse, her movements deliberate and calm. The confrontation would end, but not the way anyone expected. The real story was just beginning. Derek Walsh pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over the police contact. "This is your final warning. Leave now, or we'll have you escorted out." 2 additional security guards appeared from the service area. Mike had called for backup, and the cavalry had arrived. The 3 men formed a loose semicircle around Amara, their presence designed to intimidate. "Code yellow in showroom," Mike reported into his radio. "Subject refusing to comply with management requests." The customers scattered like startled birds. The young couple abandoned their leather debate and retreated to the Audi section. The older man testing the Porsche watched from behind tinted glass, his test drive forgotten. Only Maya remained close, her livestream now pulling 15,000 viewers. Comments flooded the screen faster than eyes could follow. "This is America in 2024. Sue them all. Where is this happening? Somebody call the news." Amara stood perfectly still, surrounded, but not intimidated. Her breathing remained controlled, her posture erect. Years of boardroom battles had taught her the power of calm in chaos. "Are you seriously calling the police on a customer?" she asked, her voice carrying across the marble floor. Derek's face flushed red. "You're not a customer. Customers don't cause scenes. They don't disrupt business. I asked about engine specifications. I inquired about suspension features. If that constitutes a scene, your staff needs better training." Brad stepped forward, emboldened by the security presence. "Look, lady, we know your type. You come in here, waste our time, take pictures for social media, then leave. We're not going to play those games." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Maya's chat exploded. "Your type? Did he really just say that? This is evidence for a lawsuit." Amara felt the familiar fire building in her chest. The same rage that had driven her through Harvard Business School. The same determination that had built her empire. But she'd learned to weaponize patience. "My type," she repeated slowly. "What exactly is my type, Mr. Morrison? Brad Morrison. And I think you know exactly what I mean." The clock showed 3:08 p.m. 22 minutes remained in premium hours. Derek sensed the conversation spiraling. "That's enough. Everyone needs to calm down." He turned to Amara. "Ma'am, I'm asking you politely to leave. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "Harder for whom?" Amara's question cut through the tension. "I'm a potential customer with legitimate questions. Your staff has provided no information, only assumptions." One of the security guards, younger than the others, shifted uncomfortably. He'd seen the live stream comments. His girlfriend was black. This felt wrong. But Mike, the senior guard, remained focused. "Ma'am, you need to comply with management's request. This is private property." The psychological pressure was immense. 3 security guards, an aggressive manager, a hostile salesman, and dozens of eyes watching her every move. Most people would have cracked. Mara's phone buzzed. Her assistant again. The documentary crew is asking about timing. Should they wait? She typed back, "Tell them to stay ready. This is almost over." Maya caught the exchange on camera. Her viewer count hit 25,000. Someone in the chat wrote, "Documentary crew? What documentary?" But the comment disappeared in the flood. Derek's patience evaporated. "That's it. Mike, call Atlanta PD. Tell them we have a disruptive individual refusing to leave." The threat crystallized everything. Amara's mind flashed to countless black men and women who'd faced similar moments. The calculations ran through her head. Compliance versus resistance, dignity versus safety, private victory versus public change. Brad's smirk widened. "Should have left when you had the chance." The other customers watched from safe distances, their discomfort palpable. The young couple whispered to each other. The older man had stopped pretending to examine cars. Even the service technicians had emerged from the back office. "I need to make a call," Amara said quietly. Derek laughed. "Lady, you can call whoever you want from outside. Mike, escort her to the exit." But Amara wasn't moving toward the exit. She walked calmly to the reception desk, her heels clicking against the marble with military precision. Janet instinctively stepped back. "Before you call the police," Amara said, reaching into her purse, "I'd like to leave my business card for whoever owns this establishment." Her fingers found the card, cream-colored, heavy stock, embossed lettering. She placed it face down on the marble counter with deliberate care. "Please ensure the owner receives this immediately." Janet's hand trembled as she reached for the card. The moment her fingers touched it, her expression changed. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened slightly. No sound emerged. "Oh my God," she whispered, barely audible. Derek stepped closer. "What is it?" Janet's hands shook as she turned the card over. The embossed text caught the light. "Dr. Amara Washington, CEO, Washington Capital Partners." Below that, in smaller print, "Managing Partner, $2,800,000,000, 0 cents in assets under management." The blood drained from Derek's face. His eyes darted between the card and Amara's calm expression. "This can't be right." Janet's fingers flew across her computer keyboard. Google search. Washington Capital Partners CEO. Headlines populated the screen. Washington Capital acquires Premier Auto Group. Black female CEO builds automotive empire. Washington's $2.80 B fund reshapes auto industry. The search results painted a picture Derek couldn't process. Washington Capital Partners didn't just own businesses. They owned his business. Premier Auto Group, parent company of Premier Luxury Motors, had been acquired 6 months ago. "This is..." Derek's voice trailed off. Brad remained clueless, his attention focused on the security guards. "What's taking so long? Just get her out of here." Maya's live stream had exploded to 50,000 viewers. The chat moved too fast to read, but the sentiment was clear. This is about to get good. She's the CEO. Brad's about to lose his job. Mike's radio crackled. "Units responding to your code yellow. ETA 3 minutes. Amara smiled for the first time all afternoon. "You might want to cancel that request." The clock showed 3:15 p.m. 15 minutes remained. Derek's world tilted on its axis. 6 months ago, his dealership had been acquired by a massive investment firm. He'd never met the executives, never seen the CEO. The quarterly reports went to some faceless board in Atlanta. The faceless board wasn't faceless anymore. Janet's computer screen displayed more search results. Washington Capital implements diversity standards. Premier Auto Group faces discrimination lawsuits. CEO promises systemic changes in auto industry. The last headline made Derek's stomach drop. This wasn't a random customer, this was his boss. His boss's boss. The woman who could end his career with a phone call. And he'd just threatened to have her arrested. The silence stretched like a taut wire. Janet's computer screen glowed with search results that painted a devastating picture. Derek's eyes darted between the headlines. and Amara's serene expression. Premier Auto Group reports record losses. Washington Capital considers dealership closures stressful. Kaplan DeVouch repeats, Democratic primary goes terribly wrong. Detroit newspaper also confirms Stryant massacre and terrorism may kill. Brad finally sensed the shift in atmosphere. What's everyone looking at? Derek's voice came out as a croak. She owns us. What do you mean she owns us? Brad's confusion was genuine. She's just some lady trying to cause trouble. Maya's livestream chat had become a frenzy of capital letters and exclamation points. The viewer count hit 75,000. Someone had shared the stream on Twitter, where it was spreading like wildfire. Amara reached for her phone. I should probably call my assistant. I'm running behind schedule. She dialed with theatrical deliberation. Jennifer? Yes, I'm still at the Atlanta location. The performance review is taking longer than expected. A pause. No, I think I have everything I need. Derek's face had gone from red to ashen. Premier Auto Group operated 47 dealerships across 8 states. Washington Capital Partners had acquired the entire chain for $1,200,000,000, 0 cents. And this dealership, his dealership, had been flagged in the quarterly reports. Customer satisfaction, 2.3 out of 5 stars. Company average, 4.1 stars. Discrimination complaints filed, 23 in the past year. Company average, 3 per location. Pending litigation, $2,800,000, 0 cents in settlements. Company average, $340,000, 0 cents. The numbers painted a picture of systematic failure. His systematic failure. Jennifer, Amara continued into the phone. Please confirm that the camera crew is still available. I think we'll need them, after all. Camera crew? Derek's mind raced. What camera crew? Janet's fingers moved across the keyboard again. New search. Washington Capital. Documentary discrimination. The results were devastating. CEO announces documentary on workplace bias. Hidden camera study reveals auto industry problems. Washington Capital funds discrimination investigation. Investigate. Derek's knees nearly buckled. This wasn't a random visit. This was a planned investigation. And he'd failed spectacularly. Maya's phone buzzed with notifications. Her live stream had been shared by verified accounts. Major news outlets were already reaching out. The story was going viral in real time. Ma'am, Mike the security guard said quietly, maybe we should all just calm down here. His radio crackled again. Units are 2 minutes out. Do you still need assistance? Mike looked at Derek, who looked at Janet, who looked at the computer screen. The headlines seemed to multiply. Washington Capital Partners CEO Amara Washington. From Harvard to Wall Street, a success story. The woman reshaping American business. Cancel the police, Derek whispered. What? Brad's voice cracked. You can't be serious. Don't let her intimidate you. Derek turned to his lead salesman with a mixture of pity and rage. Brad, shut up. Just shut up. Amara ended her call and slipped the phone back into her purse. I'm sorry for the delay. My assistant needed to confirm a few details. Dr. Washington, Derek began, his voice shaking. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? Amara's tone remained neutral. What kind of misunderstanding? The front door chimed. A woman in a business suit entered, followed by 2 men carrying equipment cases. The documentary crew had arrived. Dr. Washington? The woman approached with professional confidence. I'm Sarah Chen from Meridian Productions. We're ready when you are. Brad's face went white. Documentary? What documentary? Sarah Chen smiled at him. We're filming a documentary about discrimination in retail environments. Dr. Washington has been conducting field research. The pieces clicked into place like a combination lock. The calm demeanor, the technical questions, the subtle recording of evidence. This had been a test from the beginning. Maya's livestream exploded past 100,000 viewers. The chat was moving too fast to read, but the sentiment was clear. Justice was coming. Field research? Derek's voice barely qualified as a whisper. "We've been documenting customer experiences across our portfolio companies," Amara explained. "This location was selected based on its complaint history." She gestured to the camera crew. "We have everything we need from the public interaction. The rest of our conversation should be private." Derek's mind reeled. Everything. The careful provocation, the measured responses, the documentation had been orchestrated. He'd walked into a trap of his own making. "Dr. Washington," he began again, desperation creeping into his voice. "If I had known—" "Known what?" Amara's question cut through his excuse. "That I was your boss? That I own this dealership? That I could fire you?" The truth hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "Would you have treated me differently if you'd known my position?" Derek's silence was answer enough. Brad finally understood the magnitude of his situation. "This isn't fair. You set us up. I walked into your dealership and asked about a car. Everything that happened after that was your choice." Amara turned to the camera crew. "I think we have sufficient footage of the customer interaction. Please prepare for the follow-up interview." Sarah Chen nodded. "We'll set up in the conference room." The conference room. Derek's sanctuary, where he'd closed million-dollar deals and fired underperforming employees. Now it would become the site of his own judgment. Maya's live stream had caught the entire exchange. The viewer count hit 127,000. Luxury while black was trending nationally. News outlets were already preparing stories. "Dr. Washington," Janet ventured from behind the desk. Should I call corporate?" "I'm corporate," Amara replied simply. The clock showed 3:22 p.m. 8 minutes remained in premium hours. But time had become irrelevant. The real business was just beginning. Derek watched his career crumble in real time. 23 discrimination complaints, customer satisfaction scores in the basement, a viral video showing his face as he threatened to arrest his own boss. Brad still didn't fully grasp the situation. "This has to be illegal. You can't just record people without permission." "Actually," Sarah Chen interjected, "Georgia is a one-party consent state." Dr. Washington's consent was sufficient. The legal implications began to crystallize. Not just employment consequences, potential criminal charges, civil rights violations, federal discrimination cases. Mike, the security guard, approached Derek. "Sir, what do you want me to do about the police?" Derek looked at the 3 guards who'd been prepared to forcibly remove the owner of their building. "Tell them it was a false alarm. Tell them we're sorry for wasting their time." "But sir, just do it." Amara checked her watch. The $40,000, 0 cents, Patek Philippe that Brad had failed to notice. "I have another appointment at 4. Shall we move to the conference room?" It wasn't a request. Derek nodded numbly. His wife would be expecting him home for dinner. His kids would want help with homework. His mortgage payment was due next week. All of it might be irrelevant now. "Dr. Washington," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What happens now?" Amara's smile was neither cruel nor kind. It was simply businesslike. "Now we discuss the future of this dealership, whether it has one." Maya ended her live stream with a promise to her followers. "I'll keep you updated on what happens next. This is just the beginning." The conference room door closed behind them. The real conversation was about to begin. The conference room felt smaller than usual. Derek had conducted hundreds of meetings here, but never as the one facing judgment. The mahogany table that once symbolized his authority now felt like a defendant's dock. Amara sat across from him, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. Sarah Chen positioned cameras to capture multiple angles. The documentary would tell this story completely. "Let's start with the numbers," Amara said, opening a leather portfolio. "This location generated $47,200,000, 0 cents in revenue last year. That sounds impressive until you examine the context." She slid a printed report across the table. Derek's hands trembled as he read. Customer satisfaction, 2.3 out of 5 stars. Company average, 4.1 stars. Your location ranks 43rd out of 47 dealerships. Derek's mouth went dry. The market here is challenging. The demographics, Amara interrupted, are 63% white, 28% black, 9% Hispanic. Median household income, $67,000, 0 cents. Exactly the target market for luxury vehicles. She flipped to another page. Yet your sales to minority customers represent only 4% of total transactions. Industry average, 18%. The numbers were devastating. Derek had always blamed low sales on market conditions, but the data revealed systematic exclusion. 23 discrimination complaints filed in the past year. Company average, 3 per location. Legal liability, $2,800,000, 0 cents, in pending settlements. Brad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. He'd been present for at least half of those complaints. Each one had been dismissed as misunderstandings or cultural differences. The Hassan family, Amara continued, reading from her notes. Pakistani-American, interested in a BMW X5. Your salesman? Mr. Morrison, suggested they'd be more comfortable at a Toyota dealership. Brad's face flushed. That's not what happened. I was trying to help them find something in their price range. They were pre-approved for $85,000, 0 cents financing. The X5 was $67,000, 0 cents. Silence filled the room like concrete. The Martinez family, Mexican-American, third-generation Americans. Mr. Morrison asked to see their green cards before beginning the sales process. That's standard procedure, Brad protested. We have to verify. No, Mr. Morrison, it's illegal. Federal law prohibits discrimination based on national origin. You requested immigration documents from American citizens. Derek's hands shook as he turned the pages. Each complaint represented a potential lawsuit. Each lawsuit represented financial ruin. The Williams family, African-American, interested in a Mercedes S-Class. Your salesman, again Mr. Morrison, asked if they were professional athletes. It was a compliment, Brad said weakly. It was a stereotype, the assumption that black wealth must come from sports or entertainment. Amara's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Jennifer, the board meeting is starting. They're waiting for your report. She typed back, beginning preliminary recommendations now. Derek caught the exchange. Derek, Washington, please, I know this looks bad, but we can fix it. We can improve. Can you? Amara's question was genuine. This isn't about one bad day. This is about systematic exclusion, a culture of discrimination that starts at the top. She gestured to the camera crew. We have 18 hours of footage from this location. Hidden cameras, customer interviews, employee testimonials. The pattern is clear. Derek's world contracted to this moment. His mortgage, his kids' college funds, his wife's medical bills. Everything depended on keeping this job. What do you want? He asked. I want to understand how this happened, how a successful businessman created a culture of exclusion. The question forced introspection Derek had avoided for years. The gradual slide from competitive sales tactics to outright discrimination. The jokes that became policy. The assumptions that became standard practice. I never meant for it to be this way, he said quietly. Intent doesn't matter to the families you turned away. Intent doesn't matter to the communities you excluded. Intent doesn't matter to the shareholders losing money because of your practices. She pulled out another document. Franchise Agreement, Section 47B. Conduct detrimental to brand reputation. Termination clause with 30-day notice. Derek's blood turned to ice. You can't close us down. 47 people work here. The community depends on us. The community you've been excluding? The logic was irrefutable. Derek had built his success on a foundation of systematic exclusion, then argued for survival based on community impact. Here's what's going to happen, Amara continued. Mr. Morrison will be terminated immediately. With cause. No severance package, no references. His actions have exposed this company to millions in liability. Brad shot up from his chair. You can't do this. I have rights. You have the right to face the consequences of your choices. Security will escort you out. Derek watched his top salesman, his protege, face the destruction of his career. The man who'd embodied everything wrong with their culture. What about me? Derek asked. You'll be suspended without pay pending a full investigation. 40 hours of mandatory sensitivity training, 200 hours of community service, a public apology video. The terms were harsh, but not fatal. Derek could survive suspension. He could rebuild his reputation. He could learn from this disaster. And the dealership? That depends on whether you can prove change is possible. Washington Capital doesn't invest in failing businesses. We don't tolerate discrimination. We don't accept excuses. Amara stood and walked to the window overlooking the showroom. Maya was still there, interviewing other customers about their experiences. The story was growing beyond a single incident. 30 days, she said without turning around. You have 30 days to implement comprehensive changes. New hiring practices, diversity training, customer service monitoring, community outreach programs. And if we succeed, then you keep your jobs. The dealership remains open, the community benefits from improved service. And if we fail? Amara turned to face him. Then Washington Capital will find someone who can succeed. This location is too valuable to waste on outdated practices. Derek nodded slowly. The terms were clear. Transform or disappear. Dr. Washington, he said, his voice stronger now, I want to make this right, not just for my job, but because it's the right thing to do. Actions matter more than words, Mr. Wash. Show me change, don't tell me about it. She gathered her papers and stood to leave. The documentary crew will return next month to film the follow-up. The story needs an ending. Derek understood. This wasn't just about his dealership. It was about whether change was possible in an industry built on exclusion. One more thing, Amara said at the door. The Hassan family is still interested in that BMW X5. Mrs. Martinez wants to look at a Mercedes. The Williams family's considering a Tesla. She paused for effect. I suggest you treat them like the valued customers they are. The door closed behind her, leaving Derek alone with the wreckage of his old world and the possibility of building something better. Through the window, he watched Amara shake hands with Maya, thanking her for documenting the truth. The livestream had ended, but the story would continue. Derek looked at his reflection in the conference room window. The man staring back had choices to make. He could fight the changes and lose everything. Or he could embrace transformation and build something worthy of the second chance he'd been given. His phone buzzed, a text from his wife. How was your day? He stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, life-changing. I'll explain when I get home. The real work was just beginning. 3 weeks later, Derek stood in the same conference room, but everything had changed. The mahogany table now hosted diversity training sessions. The walls displayed photos of satisfied customers from every background. The atmosphere hummed with purposeful energy. Patricia Williams, the new diversity consultant, reviewed the morning's progress. Customer satisfaction scores have improved to 3.8 out of 5, still below company average, but trending upward. Derek nodded, making notes. Sleep had been elusive since the incident, but not from stress, from determination. The public apology video had been viewed 2.3 million times. Most comments were harsh, but some recognized genuine remorse. The new hiring protocols are working, Patricia continued. 5 new sales associates start Monday. 3 are minorities, 2 are women, all exceed previous qualification standards. The recruitment strategy had shifted completely. Instead of hiring from the same networks, they'd partnered with local colleges and community organizations. The candidate pool had exploded with talent. What about the Hassan family's experience? Derek asked. Patricia smiled. They purchased the BMW X5 yesterday. 5-star review online. Said they'd never been treated with such respect at a dealership. Similar stories were multiplying. The Martinez family had bought a Mercedes. The Williams family had chosen a Tesla. Word was spreading through communities that had previously been excluded. Maya entered the conference room, no longer a secret observer, but an official consultant. Her viral livestream had led to a position with Washington Capital's social media team. The online sentiment is shifting, she reported. The hashtag #LuxuryWhileBlack now features positive experiences. Customers are sharing stories of respectful service. Derek had initially resented Maya's presence, but she'd become instrumental in rebuilding trust. Her authentic voice resonated with communities the dealership had ignored. Dr. Washington's documentary crew returns next week, Patricia announced. They want to film the transformation process. The thought no longer terrified Derek. The changes were real, measurable, sustainable. Customer complaints had dropped by 80%. Sales to minority customers had increased by 40%. Employee morale had improved dramatically. Brad Morrison's termination had sent shockwaves through the sales team, but rather than resentment, it had created accountability. Everyone understood that discrimination wouldn't be tolerated. The Washington Capital Scholarship Fund launches next month, Maya added. $100,000 annually for minority business students. Derek had contributed the first donation, his annual bonus, redirected toward community investment. Other employees had followed suit. The gesture hadn't been required, but it felt necessary. His phone buzzed. A text from his teenage daughter. "Dad, I saw the article about your dealership in the school newspaper. I'm proud of you." The personal cost had been significant. Old friends had questioned his changes. Some customers had complained about the new policies. But his family's respect meant more than fleeting approval. "The monitoring system is fully operational," Patricia reported. "Every customer interaction is recorded and reviewed. Bias detection algorithms flag potential problems immediately." Technology had become an ally in ensuring consistent service. The system wasn't about punishment, it was about improvement. Sales associates received real-time feedback to enhance their performance. Monthly Community Advisory Board meetings start next week, Maya announced. Local leaders will provide ongoing oversight. Transparency had replaced secrecy. The dealership's practices were now subject to public scrutiny. Rather than fear this oversight, Derek welcomed it. Accountability bred excellence. Derek looked around the room at his new team. Patricia brought expertise in inclusion. Maya provided community connection. Together, they'd rebuilt the dealership's culture from the ground up. "What's next?" he asked. "Sustainability," Patricia replied, "making sure these changes outlast any individual employee or manager." The transformation had to be permanent, not dependent on Derek's presence. Systems, policies, and culture needed to ensure lasting change. Through the window, Derek watched a diverse group of customers examining vehicles. A young black couple debated features on a luxury SUV. A Hispanic family discussed financing options. An elderly white woman received patient assistance with technology features. This was what success looked like. Not profit margins alone, but community service. Not exclusion, but inclusion. Not discrimination, but dignity. 6 months after the live stream that changed everything, Derek Walsh stood before the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. The invitation to speak had surprised him. Formerly disgraced managers rarely received such platforms. "Transformation isn't comfortable," he told the audience. "It requires admitting failure, embracing change, and committing to continuous improvement." The dealership had become a case study. Harvard Business School featured it in their diversity curriculum. The Washington Protocol was being adopted by luxury retailers nationwide. Maya's documentary had won a regional Emmy. Her acceptance speech thanked Derek for proving that people can change when they choose courage over comfort. Dr. Amara Washington had moved on to other challenges, but her impact remained. The Washington Capital Scholarship had funded 30 students. The mentorship program connected young entrepreneurs with successful business leaders. Derek's personal journey continued. Community service had introduced him to neighborhoods he'd never visited. The families he'd once excluded had become friends. His worldview had expanded beyond his previous limitations. "The cost of discrimination isn't just moral," he concluded his speech. "It's economic. We lost millions in revenue by excluding qualified customers. We lost talent by limiting our hiring pool. We lost reputation by tolerating bias." The applause was genuine, not polite. Business leaders recognized the courage required to rebuild from failure. Brad Morrison had disappeared from the industry. His employment applications were consistently rejected. The viral video had made him unemployable in luxury retail. His story served as a cautionary tale about the consequences of discrimination. But Derek's story offered hope. Real change was possible when people chose growth over comfort. The dealership's transformation continued. Customer satisfaction scores now exceeded company averages. Sales had increased by 30%. Employee retention had improved dramatically. Maya's social media presence had evolved into a platform for social justice. Her followers, now numbering in the hundreds of thousands, shared stories of discrimination and celebration. The Luxury While Black hashtag had become a movement. This story shows us that Black stories matter, Maya told her audience. Our real-life stories have power. These touching stories change minds and hearts. Dr. Washington's example had inspired countless others. Life stories like hers proved that systemic change was possible through determined leadership. This story raises crucial questions about dignity, power, and justice in our daily lives. We want to hear from you. Share your experience. Have you witnessed or experienced discrimination in retail, restaurants, or professional settings? Comment below with your story. Your voice matters in creating change. Take action, screenshot, and share this video with dignity first. Join the conversation about respect and equality in customer service. Subscribe for more. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We spotlight stories of people who transform injustice into positive change. Join the movement. Follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes content and updates on the characters in this story. Remember, change doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people like Dr. Amara Washington and people like you refuse to accept the status quo. What would you have done in her position? Let us know in the comments below.